We're rolling, Mayor.
All right. I call this work session meeting to order. It is Tuesday, October 17th of 2023. The time is 3:12. We've had some technical difficulties. Apologies for being late. Mr. Vino, would you call the roll?
Mr. Prather, Mr. Scott.
Here.
Mr. Gleason, Mayor Houston,
Here.
Ms. Garza, Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Mendoza.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
All right, our citizen comment time period. We have one person signed up. That would be Virginia Parker. So if you will approach the podium, and there's your 3 minutes.
Okay.
Council, we are short one projector, so the audience gets the one that we have, and you'll need to use your screen for everything else. I'm sorry for the interruption, Ms. Parker.
No, you're fine. Okay, hello, Mayor and council members. I'm Virginia Parker with the San Marcos River Foundation. I wanted to come today to listen to the discussion that y'all are having, but also I can't be here at the 6 p.m. meeting, and so I just wanted to give you my comments in person. I understand that the decision of what to do with the CM Allen area is a very difficult one, but I have to ask you to please pull the item from the consent agenda tonight. Although option 3 seems very tempting, as it is slightly better than the original option 1 that the consultants created, it still encourages multiple stories of infill development along the floodplain. We have not had our largest flood yet, and capturing runoff from the hill through green space before it gets to the river will not only improve water quality, but could mitigate some flooding for downstream neighbors. Councilmember Mendoza, I know that at the last council meeting, you were concerned that that council may not be able to address some of the issues for the east side residents if y'all were to go with the green space for the CM Allen district. But I just want to say that this isn't an either or scenario. We can do both. Infill development can occur in and around downtown, adding to the city's tax revenue, but this just really is not the place for it. There are grants to purchase green space in the name of flood mitigation, and Dr. Kimberly Meitzen sent y'all a great example today of this opportunity through the Guadalupe Blanco Regional Flood Planning Group. So look back at that if y'all haven't seen that yet. It is so much cheaper to prevent flooding than to try and fix issues after they occur. Prevention is not only cheaper, but it's easier and less disruptive to water quality and environment. Just because you vote for option 2, it does not mean that some of the parcels will not be built out, but it does mean that some of the parcels could be used for green space and flood mitigation. This is really critical. Again, this is a vision for what you want to see going forward. It is not a mandate. It is not eminent domain. It is just saying that you would like to try to mitigate issues that we already have and are inevitably going to get worse instead of voting to ensure that they get worse. Please, please vote for option 2 for the CM Allen downtown area within the downtown master plan. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Trevino, that was our only person today. Okay, then we will move on to our presentations. Would you read item 1?
Receive a staff presentation regarding destination services, marketing, and promotional initiatives, the impact and value of tourism, and provide direction to the city manager.
Ms. Reyes, yes.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Today's first presentation is from the Destination Services Department and includes an overview of our marketing and promotions, as well as the impact and value of tourism throughout our community. Visitors have a significant economic impact on our community, bringing in revenue and creating job opportunities. In today's presentation, we will include updates from Charlotte Watney, Creative and Marketing Manager, and Josie Falletta, Downtown Manager. Staff will also discuss how the city benefits from tourism through hotel occupancy tax, how our marketing is focused to bring in visitors, and the information on our river area visitation. There's quite a bit of information to cover, so I'll now turn it over to Rebecca Ibarra, Director of Destination Services. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Rebecca Ibarra, Director of Destination Services. Our team, as Ms. Reyes stated, our team is here today to provide you an overview of our service, marketing and promotions, and then the impact and the value of tourism. But what is tourism? Tourism is a social, cultural, and economic phenomenon which entails the movement of people to places outside of their usual environment for personal and business reasons. Next slide. Tourism is one of the top 4 industries in the state of Texas and likely in San Marcos as well. Travel spending generates revenue across many different categories, with the largest share being sales tax, followed by motor fuel, hotel occupancy, and other taxes like alcoholic beverage and franchise taxes, hence the alcohol there on your screen. Direct travel spending in San Marcos for 2022 was $207 million. And that includes purchases by travelers during their trip, including hotel taxes and other applicable local and state taxes. Wage earnings in San Marcos was $109.1 million, and those are earnings of employees and owners and businesses that are attributable to travel expenditures, and then the direct tax receipts, which is $23.1 million, and those are the tax receipts collected by state, county, municipalities, as levied on applicable travel-related purchases, including lodging, food, and beverage. And as you can see, San Marcos makes up about 40% of the total spending and earnings in Hays County. Next slide. In San Marcos, of course, people need to stay somewhere, so people stay in one of our 82 tax collecting entities. We have 29 hotels for 2,340 rooms, which equals to about 4,100 beds. We have 3 extended stay hotels. Those are basically hotels that the majority of their guests are long-term. And then we have 50 registered short-term rental properties. So we actually have a few more than that, but those are the ones that we have that are registered. 4.6 million was collected in hotel motel tax in 2022. 1 million of that was for the debt of the conference center. Next slide. And then 3.6 million funded tourism programs like, next slide, events supported by arts and cultural grants. Next slide. Murals provided, funded by the Mural Arts Program. Next slide. Signature events like Sights and Sounds, Summer in the Park, Sacred Springs Powwow, and Mermaid Festival. And then downtown initiatives like our Downtown Outdoor Gallery, which that was a joint effort between the Arts Commission and Main Street. And then, of course, there's marketing our tourism assets. And to talk more about our marketing and promotional initiatives, here's Charlotte Watney.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Charlotte Watney, Creative and Marketing Manager. The goal of advertising and marketing is to not only draw visitors to our destination, but also to craft brand messaging that portrays the image we want for our community. If we don't control the messaging, someone else will. It is our job to build our brand around community goals, values, and creative energy. This brand message is consistent throughout all of our content, whether it's in our blogs and listings on our website, copy in our advertising, video, visuals, or even how we respond on social media to comments and messages. Next slide. We focus on marketing to reach an audience that aligns with what our community values. That means we try to target potential visitors that enjoy the outdoors, arts and culture, music, shopping, and local events. Next slide. As a hotel occupancy tax funded entity, Visit San Marcos aims to draw overnight travelers. This means we advertise beyond a 100-mile radius of the city so that as locals, you probably don't see many of our ads. Next slide. This is just to give you a high-level overview of the type of marketing that we do. A majority of our advertising is digital. This includes search engine marketing like Google Ads, website and mobile ads, audio ads on subscription services like Pandora or Spotify, connected TV videos, and social media ads. Next slide. Unlike print ads that give you a finite amount of space, digital ads direct viewers to specific landing pages on our site where we can tell the whole story with text, images, and video. Changes can be made mid-campaign in the digital space, so that way our message is always up to date. Next slide. We also advertise to meeting planners to bring groups to the city's conference center and other meeting spaces. The servicing team focuses on delivering an experience highlighting all the great things about San Marcos. They do this by working closely with groups to assist with site visits and local vendor coordination. And depending on the size of the group and the number of hotel room nights that the group books, our servicing team may also provide funding, assistance, and transportation, collateral, and local dignitaries to open welcome for their events. Next slide. In 2023, the Conference Center has 261 scheduled events, resulting in 37,200 room nights. In addition, we have 2 smaller hotel properties with meeting space, Hilton Garden Inn and Holiday Inn Convention Center. We've learned that meeting planners don't look at meeting-specific print or online magazines anymore. So the best way to connect with them is either through social platforms like LinkedIn or face-to-face. Through LinkedIn, we have a Meet Me in San Marcos campaign that runs, targeting Texas State University and other professionals locally in the surrounding area to bring their groups here. Our servicing team also attends planner shows to market San Marcos as a premier meeting destination in person. Next slide. Main Street program promotes all of our downtown, and Miss Josie Falletta will tell you all about that.
Good afternoon, Josie Falletta, Downtown Manager. I'll be speaking about the Main Street program, which is our city office for downtown San Marcos. As you'll see in front of you, we do have a district that we serve. These lines were established by the Texas Historical Commission in 1986 when our program was established. We belong to a state and national network of Main Street programs. So even in the state of Texas alone, there are 90 Main Street cities, and we belong to that network. Our program is funded partially by hotel occupancy tax and partially by general fund. The majority of it is hotel occupancy tax. Last fiscal year, it was about 65% hotel occupancy tax and 35% general fund. Some facts that I included on the slide that you may find interesting about downtown is that in 2022, we had 15 net new businesses open. We arrived at that number by taking the total number of new businesses, subtracting the number of businesses that closed their doors, and that is what a net new business is. This is the best number of new business openings that we've had since I started tracking numbers in 2016. So we are seeing more resiliency in our downtown business mix, which is very exciting. We also have right now around 275 businesses in the district that you see on the slide. We also have 15 businesses that are working to get their doors open in some various stage. So again, really exciting to see all of the business activity happening downtown. I also wanted to include a little bit about the 4-point approach. This is national Main Street language, and it's a balanced approach to downtown revitalization. So all Main Street programs follow this format when they're thinking about their structure and the type of work that they're doing. Design refers to the built environment of a downtown. It's talking about the walkability, is your downtown clean and safe? It's the physical landscape, the buildings that are in it. Economic vitality is the business mix. It's the resiliency of your local businesses and whether you have a really healthy business orientation in your downtown. Organization is their language for advocacy. It is how your downtown, whether you have the resources that you need to have a successful downtown and a successful Main Street program. And then promotion is what I'll be talking about today. That is the branding and reputation of your downtown and all of the ways that you promote it. Next up. One of the ways that we promote downtown is through hosting events. The visual that you see here is a photo from our award-winning event, Music on the Square. We work really hard to structure our events so that they're supporting our local economy in several different ways. We try to hire local vendors. We try to feature local bands who live here in San Marcos. And we do this in several different types of events. So another example of this is, next slide, Movies on the Square. You can see the theme. So we try to host events that are bringing both visitors and residents to downtown. In addition to hosting events, we also coordinate with community organizers who are hosting their own events downtown. Next slide. One example of this is the farmers market. So we routinely work with the farmers market not only to promote the market itself, because that does bring visitors to downtown, but also to help them coordinate with potential vendors who might be interested in being a business at the market. We also work with them when there are other large-scale events happening downtown. We work as a facilitator to help connect them with community organizers so that they can be successful during other large-scale events. Next slide. Such as Mermaid Festival. So this is a huge event that's hosted downtown. It's not something that we host, but we are very actively engaged during this event and also in the time leading up to it. We coordinate with local businesses. We make sure that businesses know how they can be successful and make the most of large events like this. We work with coordinators in large festivals like Mermaid to make sure that they're connected to businesses so that if there are any conflicts with road closures and such, that they have a contact person that they can communicate with. And we really just try to make sure that everyone has a smooth experience during these types of events. Next slide. Thirdly, we partner with other community organizers to co-host events. One example of this is the holiday lighting ceremony that's co-hosted with the county judge's office. So we work together to host this. This is a very community-focused event. We have lots of different performers from our CISDs that are local, and we work to make sure that this is successful. Next slide. Another way that we promote downtown is through placemaking initiatives. If you've never heard the word placemaking, it's a term that's very common in the planning world, and I like to define it as creating spaces where people want to spend time. And this is not only something that we do for visitors, but we do it for our residents as well. We want to create a downtown that is inviting and welcoming for everyone, whether they live here or whether they're visiting here. One of the spaces that we routinely do these types of initiatives at is our Downtown Mobility Hub. It's located on Hutchison Street. We do a lot of seasonal installations here. So on the left is a photo of our team installing a 10-foot skeleton, which we just took down. We had those up for the month of October, and this week we'll be working on putting up our installation for the winter holiday season. Next slide. Another example of a placemaking initiative is the signage that we've worked to install downtown over the past few years. The photo on the left are the new street signs that we installed 2 years ago. We replaced all of the existing signage with branded signage that looks a little different and is maybe more contextually appropriate to our historic downtown. The signs on the right are wayfinding signage, so they are directional. They also include a QR code that goes directly to our website where there's business listings of all the downtown businesses. So every way that we can to get people moving around downtown and show them how they can support local businesses, we try to take. Next slide. Another example of a placemaking initiative is our Legend Has It vacancy abatement tour. So we have some vacant properties downtown, but it's our goal to make downtown feel active. Even if the vacant property is there, we don't want it to feel like it's vacant. So this is an example of an initiative that we did where we partnered with property owners to help decorate their buildings. And we featured local history legends. We won't call them facts, they are legends. And we use this to make sure that even the spaces that don't feel active look active, even if they're not. Next slide, please. In addition to events and placemaking, we also do advertising and promotion on behalf of downtown. You, as Charlotte mentioned, you're not likely to see our ads because we direct them outside of the city limits. Because our goal using the hotel occupancy tax is to bring visitors into downtown. So our primary emphasis is on shop local initiatives. We do paid digital advertisements, and we also use our social media to support local businesses. So the visual on the right is an example of our most popular social media post, which are new biz alerts. This is when a new business opens in downtown. We do a new biz alert. It's a structure that we started about 2 years ago, and they have by far the highest engagement rates out of any type of social media that we do, which shows that our community is really interested in supporting local businesses. Next slide. We also collaborate with local businesses and organizers through our Downtown Co-Marketing Fund. This is a reimbursement grant that a business can utilize up to $5,000 per business or event. Some examples that were funded in last fiscal year were the Lost River Film Fest, the San Marcos Festival, which was a musical event downtown, and an event hosted by The Porch, which is one of our downtown businesses. So we offer this on a year-round basis as long as there's funding available, and every year we have several businesses and events take advantage of this promotion. Next slide. We are always looking for creative ways to promote downtown and its businesses, and one of the areas that we wanted to focus on this year was capturing visitor traffic to our river parks and trying to bring them downtown. So we did these footsteps that are sidewalk stickers. They're long-term stickers that stay on the ground, and you can walk on them and they won't peel up, and they have QR codes. One set of QR codes had river information with our river park rules and how to get around, and the other set linked directly to our business listings for downtown. So we're always trying to find ways that we can promote our local community. Next slide. And finally, we did this just this October as well. We celebrated our 12-year partnership with the Texas State University Family Weekend event. So for 12 years, we've been working with them to try and capture some of the Bobcat family visitors and bring them into our community and let them know what it feels like to be here in San Marcos and interact with our businesses. So we collaborated with businesses. We did, again, the sidewalk sticker. That's a new theme we're trying this year. And these also have QR codes that link directly to October discounts that some of our businesses were offering. So these are just a few examples of the ways that Main Street works to promote downtown. And I am going to invite Charlotte back up. She's going to talk a little bit about river visitor traffic.
Marketing during the summer months is a delicate balance. We promote all there is to do in the city, from live music and local eats to shopping, murals, attractions. But as you know, it's our river that draws the most people. We often hear concerns about the amount of traffic to the river and speculation about who makes up the majority of the visitation. This year, we contracted for an analysis of visitor makeup in our city river recreation areas during the summer months. We did June 1st through August 20th. We stopped August 20th because that's when school has started. Lions Club has stopped doing weekly tube rentals, and we figured that's kind of the end of our summer season. We are interested in how many were local residents, regional visitors, or longer distance visitors. We also wanted to know where else they go and how else they spend their money while they're here. When defining which visitor is which, local resident is those that live in San Marcos. Regional visitor are those that live outside the city limits but within a 50-mile radius. Longer distance visitors are those that have come from over 50 miles away. These visitors have stayed more than 2 hours and visited at least one place of impact. Next slide. In this analysis, locals made up 26% of visitors to our river recreation area, and regional visitors made up 54%. That means 80% of those in our parks this summer live in or within a 50-mile radius of San Marcos. Visitors that live outside the 50-mile radius make up 20% of river visitors. Once again, as a hotel occupancy tax-funded entity, Visit San Marcos advertises beyond the 100-mile radius for our destination. Another note of interest is that compared to last year, in the summer of 2022, local residents made up 40% of River Park visitors, and only 34% came from regional visitation. The outside 50-mile radius visitor was at 26%. I believe that the higher than usual use of our river this year was due to the statewide drought. People that normally would have gone to natural swimming areas closer to them or in other areas couldn't because many of those locations were either low or no flow or completely dry. Next slide. When looking at the top origin markets for visitation this summer, Houston and Dallas-Fort Worth markets made up the largest number of visitors traveling more than 50 miles. Next slide. So where else did they go? The River Visitor Report gave us a visualization of where else people went in addition to our river recreation area. Next slide. The San Marcos River Visitor had a very high propensity to also visit retail stores, food locations, and other outdoor recreation points of interest compared to the overall visitor. When we say overall visitor, it means those that didn't show up as visitors in our river park during their stay. Some quick numbers on visitors during this time period. 52% of river visitors went shopping as compared to 30% of overall visitors. 44% of river visitors eat out as compared to 15% of overall visitors. 23% of river visitors stayed in our hotels as compared to 14% of overall visitors. And it's not on this slide, but I also wanted to make note that 18% of river visitors go downtown as compared to 5% of overall visitors. Next slide. Sustainable tourism addresses tourism's current and future impacts by accounting for the needs of both visitors and local residents. Sustainable tourism is deliberately planned to benefit residents, respect our local culture, conserve our natural resources, and direct more profits to the local community, and to educate both the tourists and locals. It's all about people, planet, and profit. People refers to the local culture and communities. Planet stands for the natural environment, and profit refers to the economic sustainability. As destination stewards, our sustainable tourism activities address all three. Next slide. A key focus in our marketing is keeping tourism sustainable. This means when we promote our outdoor areas, we also integrate park rules and best practices into our content. Here's a short video to show what we've used previously as an example.
So, you want to have an outdoor SMT experience? Here are a few things you should know. Come to the park early and pick your perfect picnic table. But don't put up a pop-up tent without a picnic table, and don't bring your own table from home. Bring snacks and a propane grill, but leave the charcoal and wood grills at home. Bring paper products for your drinks and snacks, just don't bring any glass or styrofoam products to the park. Bring your pets for a day in the park. Just make sure to keep them on a leash and to pick up after them. Feel free to enjoy a cold adult beverage in the water, but don't consume alcohol in the park. Also, remember that smoking isn't allowed on any city property. Bring a bag for trash while enjoying the water, dispose of trash in the bins throughout the park, and it's always a good idea to bring your own trash bags from home. And remember, have a good time. Just don't leave your good time in the parks.
This year, we're excited to be teaming up with Parks and Recreation to create some new marketing videos. To have the most impact, the campaign will be focusing on
remote monitoring and management, remote access, help desk and ticketing, smart automations.
So this new campaign will focus on the accidental litterer. Many river and park users are against littering, and they don't think they do it, but they also don't realize that their mishaps cause unintentional litter, and that has a huge impact on our ecosystem. Things like sandals floating off their feet, or paper products flying off a table, or an unsecured cooler tipping its contents. We hope to raise awareness to park visitors, so park visitors will become more vigilant and aware of their accidental actions. The videos will be in Spanish and English. American Rescue Plan dollars allocated to address negative economic impact will fund a majority of the production. Visit San Marcos will promote to visitors, will promote these videos to visitors outside of our 100-mile radius, while Parks will promote to a more regional audience so that we can both reach the largest number of park users.
Thank you, Charlotte. So promoting San Marcos has always been a team effort, as you can see. And we also have Denise Pardo, our servicing manager here, and then the rest of the staff is at the office. And then together, you know, we craft the message, we craft the messaging to guide the narrative that we want our destination to be. So that's it. So any questions?
Mr. Gonzalez?
Thank you. I have a question. I believe the percentage of San Marcos residents that were enjoying our river, was that 26%? And does that include our college residents as well, or just, how did y'all?
So that is, a resident is someone whose cell phone sleeps in San Marcos for 2 hours or more for a continuous amount of time. So yes, students are included as residents.
They would have been included as locals because their phone lives here. So that's how they don't go around counting individual people. It is whoever has the location services turned on their device that they are bring with them.
Right. The reason I'm asking is I hear it quite often that our residents that lived here for many, many years are not enjoying our river like they used to years past. I just wanted to know what do you think the percentage is? You probably wouldn't know that, of residents that have been here a long time in San Marcos versus someone passing through.
There's not really a way to decide that unless you went person to person and asked those kinds of questions. If you see 2022, there were 40% of the residents, 40% of the visitors were residents. So we do have a lot larger percentage of residents using it. And also, I think it shows that it's the close by people that come the most, I think, you know, between Austin and probably Schertz or on the outskirts of San Antonio. They're the ones that are using our parks the most, though.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
So the people that come from out of town are leaving us apparently more money than what we thought, but yet they're in the river arm wrestling for space with our residents. So that's a difficult one. Okay, you asked the question that I was going to ask is, you asked the question, we got an answer. So wasn't what the determination wasn't what I thought it was. So that's good to know. Other questions?
It's just that when college students are living here, they are our residents also.
Yes. But as Mr. Gonzalez said, long-term residents, it would be cool if we knew the numbers, but we don't, and that's it. So, okay. If there are no more questions, and fewer questions mean the presentation covered it. So thank you very much for an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
And Ms. Trevino, we will go to item 2. And I had a moment there earlier because I realized I had printed the wrong agenda. And if I said this meeting was October 17th, I was wrong. It's November 6th. And nobody caught me. So anyway, we may need to make that edit to the beginning of the meeting because I now have the right agenda. So, Ms. Trevino, now that I know what we have, would you read item 2?
All right, number 2, receive a staff presentation regarding the 2023 summer season within the riverfront parks and provide direction to the city manager.
Our second presentation this afternoon will provide a recap of the 2023 summer season in our riverfront parks. We saw a large number of users of our riverfront parks this past summer, and the presentation will go over some of the ways we tried to educate them about park rules and the San Marcos River. The briefing will include a recap of the first year of the Park Ambassadors program, including statistics and lessons learned. With the increase in the number of users, we also saw a high number of rule violations and litter. We have a number of litter abatement programs already in place, and the Parks and Rec Board will be considering multiple ordinance amendments in a couple of weeks that could also address this issue. I'm now going to turn it over to Jamie Lee Case, Director of Parks and Recreation, to go through the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reyes. As she said, I'm Jamie Lee Case, Parks and Recreation Director. I'm happy to be here and happy to present you all with this information today. Next slide, please. So as she mentioned, this was our inaugural year of our Park Ambassador Pilot Program. We did manage to hire 8 full-time staff members. They worked between mid-May until after Labor Day. Their primary duties consisted of assisting and ensuring our local community and visitors experience safe use of our park and recreation areas, educate park users of local regulations and ordinances, provide maintenance services such as trash or litter pickup or removal, check restrooms, and park structures for maintenance issues. They also reported unsafe acts, conditions, accidents, or injuries to marshals or the park ranger personnel. The park ambassadors worked 7 days a week and covered 96 acres of our riverfront park system between City Park and Raymond Lucio Park. For point of reference, our total river park system is 121 acres. So this was just on the west side of IH-35, not on the east side. Next slide, please. Our park ambassadors, prior to starting, they received training including park rules, patron engagement, including de-escalation training, two-way radio use, which is how we were able to communicate directly with the deputy marshals and park rangers. They received CPR and first aid training, as well as heat safety education because they were out in the extreme heat all summer. Next slide, please. Initially, when we began the program, we were providing paper reports. We worked with our awesome GIS department to produce a more digitized version of that data. So what the park ambassadors did was they walked around with cell phones that were not connected to a cellular service, but they were operable via our app to where they could record all of their interactions they had with park patrons for various interactions, whether it was alcohol, litter, sometimes it was other, in that they were just educating them about, hey, maybe they needed to see where a map was. Maybe they needed to find the nearest picnic table. So that would kind of classify as other. Lots of charcoal grills or grill issues. I know it's very small on your screen, but what the metrics were used were all of our park rules. Dog off leash, for example, as another one. So overall, they interacted with over 11,000 people, and they gauged 1,300 violations. I do feel that this is vastly underreported, and it may have been a little bit, whenever we launched the digital version, we did lose some of that earlier data. But overall, they were out there 7 days a week interacting with park patrons, and this was definitely one of our things that we need to improve on, and we definitely learned that, and we'll go over some more of that later. But you can see the spikes there, or I guess the little graph there at the bottom of the screen. Those are contacts by day. The severe spikes, that's 4th of July weekend, if you could imagine. And then the next one is actually in August, right before school started. So we had lots and lots of engagement right before, families went back to school time. And so we had just as much, if not more. I think it was actually a tad bit more engagement that first, or that weekend in August, right before school started. You can go next slide. This is a spatial map showing where each interaction actually happened. So as I mentioned, we work with GIS. So whenever a park ambassador actually logged an interaction, it gave a GPS coordinate of where that interaction occurred. And I can, on the next slide, you can actually zoom in, and it looks like it's out in the middle of the river. This is actually Cypress Island. So it doesn't show, the the actual island and topography, but it's noted that they logged it as other, but it was actually someone had a charcoal grill out on the island. The ambassador went and educated them and informed them that they could not have that, and so they logged that interaction there. So I just wanted to provide that as an example. Next slide, please. As I briefly touched on, as an inaugural year goes, we had some lessons learned in our first go. So we did try to make them look less uniform in a way as not looking militant in any way. But what we found was maybe that was a little too casual. So we're going to go with a little bit more official looking uniform going into next summer. Probably a polo shirt as opposed to the dry fit t-shirt that we went with this summer, and actually having more structure regarding shorts or pants and those kinds of things. I feel that will really help just make them look a little bit more official. I believe that creating zones in which they are actually located throughout their shifts will help as well. They did not do that this summer. They were kind of bebopping all over the place and, kind of hitting violations as they came across them. I think that actually creating zones will help take a little bit of pressure off of the staff and give them a smaller footprint to kind of cover. Hopefully that will also allow for better direct engagement with park patrons kind of as we move forward. Also advertising our positions through the Texas State job fairs. The vast majority of our students, not all, but the vast majority were Texas State students. We did have a semi-retired teacher as well that also joined us on our staff. But we really feel that maybe if we really do engage, our potential workforce in various methods of job fairs, that we could have a little bit bigger pool to choose from going forward. Next slide, please. One of our awesome things that we did install during the summer season was designed by Miss Charlotte Watney. So really appreciate her hard work on bringing us our beautiful park rules and wayfinding signage that we were able to install throughout our River Park system. We installed signage that helps folks know where they are and also where the restrooms are. And then we also had some that would lead them towards downtown as well on some of the other wayfinding signs. Next slide. Some of the newer signs that we did install was a share the trail, kind of slow your roll sign. These are installed along our shared use pathway since it is a pedestrian cyclist trail. This helps educate maybe someone that might be newer to cycling, kind of educate them on kind of the rules of the road, and also alert patrons as to, hey, stay right, don't walk in the middle of the trail. Just kind of a way to educate our park patrons so that we don't have any negative interactions between a cyclist and a pedestrian. This is also, I mentioned, additional wayfinding signage kind of pointing in various directions. This one is located at Veramende Plaza, and it will direct folks up the pathway towards the eastern, more downriver river parks, Bicentennial, Children's Park, Rio Vista, for example, and then behind them pointing that, City Park and Plaza Park would be behind them. Next slide. As whenever we installed the initial wayfinding signs, we discussed at length adding Spanish to the sign. When our first go at it, we had English and Spanish right below it. It was exceptionally jumbled and very hard to read. So in lieu of that, we did include QR codes on there directing non-English speaking patrons to our Spanish rules, which, you know, we know we needed to do better. So to address that, we are working to add this additional signage here. We're actually getting quotes to add this now. Charlotte also helped in designing these as well, and including that they are in Spanish and English, and also maybe someone that isn't quite as literate as others, and including symbols. So these will be installed on a single pole, and they will be just vertically. So we're trying to prevent additional sign pollution from happening, but also recognizing that these are our top rule violations, and so really taking those into consideration. So here we have the no smoking, the no charcoal and open flame, and the no alcohol. Next slide. Then we have the no glass or bottles, keep your dog on a leash, and also, you know, reminding folks to dispose of their litter. Next slide, please. So this summer, if you were on social media at all, you know that there was a lot of chatter, and so we did have some challenges this summer. You know, we did see an increase in people. We saw an increase in litter, and we saw an increase in rule violations, particularly styrofoam grills, charcoal grills, tables, and then visual display and consumption of alcohol. Next slide, please. This is an image from July 4th at 5 o'clock, taken by the talented Christopher Paul Cardoza, just as a visual example of what 4th of July at 5 o'clock looked like. I worked 4th of July, and it was very busy by noon. There were people everywhere, tents everywhere. Enforcement was very difficult with the large amount of people that we had. I did speak with Lions Club, and they reported that their overall tube rentals were actually down by 6%, but their shuttles were up by 12% compared to last year. So what that tells us is that people are bringing their own tubes and utilizing the shuttle. And we saw a lot of that. We saw a lot of tube boxes left in parking lots, and at the end of their visit, they would dispose of their tubes just anywhere. And so we saw a lot of that as well. Next slide, please. Additional rule violations that we saw were folks popped up where they weren't supposed to be. This is actually two photos that I took on 4th of July. The first one is actually a tent, and there's a charcoal, or it's actually a propane grill, so at least they got that right. But they weren't at a picnic table. So we walked down there and asked them to politely go up to a picnic table, which was located just on top of the hill there, so they did. This was relatively early. This is probably about 8:30 in the morning when they had arrived. Then we've had a couple of stumps or trees catch fire this summer. Folks, for whatever reason, believe that charcoal belongs at the base of a tree. And this is the end result, is they do catch fire. Okay, next slide, please. I briefly touched on litter. So the picture there showing the mountains of trash at our roll-offs, this is actually what our parks maintenance crew arrived to. This is the Friday evening. This is what Easter Seals contractors picked up Friday, July 3rd, and left for our folks to load into those roll-offs because they can't operate heavy machinery. We have a front-end loader that we use to take that trash and actually put them into the roll-offs. So that's just a representation of after our folks left. Our folks leave about 4, and then Easter Seals stay until 11 o'clock at night. Additionally, these are some actually photos that were posted on the Eyes of the San Marcos River Facebook page. Additional trash that was left, kind of just It hadn't been addressed yet, but we eventually would get there. It's just, there's just a lot of trash and not enough people.
You said the 3rd of July? Do you mean the 4th?
No, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think the 3rd was a Friday, correct?
I don't remember.
Yeah, so it was a holiday weekend.
Okay, it was on the weekend.
Yeah, so I believe that the 4th of July fell on a Saturday, I think, and so it was pretty extended holiday weekend for folks, since it fell on a weekend. So next slide, please. So litter abatement efforts. We definitely throw everything that we possibly can at litter abatement, and it was no different this summer. It really was just a lot. We have our Habitat Conservation Plan contractors. They already do litter removal as a huge part of the HCP contracted programs. They actually remove litter from the bottom of the river. We have the trash receptacles, which are the large animal-proof containers, and then we have the bag trash caged areas. Next slide, please. I mentioned our parks maintenance crews, which they work 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Litter is not their sole duty, but it is one of the primary things that they're constantly doing throughout the summer, every single day. We do have the contracted litter removal with Easter seals. They do stay in the park until 11 p.m. And then we have the Park Ambassador Program that we began this year, as I previously mentioned. Next slide, please. We have the Conservation Crew, which is funded as part of the Habitat Conservation Plan, and they focus solely on the litter boats that you see in the river, and as well as the surface and the banks. And then enforcement, city marshals are present 7 days a week to gain compliance through education of park rules and provide citations when violations present themselves following education. Next slide, please. Community enhancement provides monthly hotspot cleanups of our creeks and tributaries to help control the litter that, if we were in a flash flood event, would otherwise wash down to the San Marcos River. We do our biannual river cleanups, and then they also oversee our Adopt a Spot program. Overall, we spend about $191,000 currently towards our summer season just for litter abatement. That includes the HCP, the Conservation Crew, and our Easter Seals contract. That does not include park staff or in that calculation. Next slide, please. Sorry, this is so small on your screen, but litter, these were Conservation Crew litter removals. So for the litter boats, on the high end, we had in July, it was 1,582 cubic feet of trash from the litter boats, and then they removed 288 cubic feet from, cubic feet from the parks themselves. So July being our highest month. There's just some images of what the Conservation Crew does as far as maintaining those litter boats there. Next slide, please. So these are just possible options. I'm not particularly looking for any direction today. These will possibly come back as a recommendation from the Parks and Recreation Board, but I did want to mention them. Possible ordinance amendments to address some of the issues that we're having. Obviously, the single-use container ban is already, you already had directed the Parks Board to bring back a recommendation, which they vote on next week. So you all will receive that recommendation by Friday. I believe that's the 18th. Cooler size limitation, prohibition, I cannot speak, of all barbecue grills. Allowing portable tables, because right now our ordinance does not allow portable tables at all. And then tube size limitation. We saw some dangerous situations where folks would bring some really large tubes and create some pretty unsafe situations. We can't control them on the river, but we can control what we allow in our park space. Okay, next slide, please. Paid parking, obviously the council has already provided direction on that it would be for non-residents. We're working through that implementation process for City Park. Managed access points, picnic permits for non-residents, additional personnel and/or Easter Seals funding, or increased marketing and education in collaboration with the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Next slide, please. Thank you. You already did it. So next step, staff is reviewing possible park rules ordinance amendments with the Parks and Recreation Board to provide a formal recommendation back to City Council. I don't have a timeline on that. I want them to, be thorough. November 16th, the Parks Board will consider, as I previously mentioned, that single-use container ban to formally recommend to the City Council. Next slide. And that is my presentation.
Questions, Mr.
Yeah.
Scott?
On the barbecue cooking, was that just cooking in general, or just, if they have little gas lighter heaters to warm up stuff, is that considered the same thing, or?
So currently, our ordinance only prohibits charcoal or wood-burning items. What I'm seeing as a Parks and Recreation professional is that folks don't understand the difference. They see grills are allowed, and they bring a charcoal grill regardless of us allowing propane. And so it's just a suggestion that I'm teeing up here. I don't know if the Parks Board will ultimately recommend that, but it's something that we're recommending for their consideration.
Okay. And the other thing I had about your staff with the new T-shirts and stuff, I would just recommend having an embroidered badge of the city seal on there. For some reason, psychologically, if you see it on a shirt, you think it's some type of badge, whether you read it or not. So make them feel a little more official.
Thank you.
That was it.
Okay.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yeah, just one question. I saw those boats that the majority of the trash were cans. If that can ban, that should alleviate a lot of those problems, you would say?
I can't guarantee that at this point.
Yeah, they were full
Yeah.
of plastic and cans and whatnot.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I got. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Ms. Garza?
Thank you, Mayor. My first question is, can you please reiterate the reason why those larger signs couldn't be made into Spanish as well?
Yes, ma'am. Whenever we were going through the design process of those signs, we tried several different iterations where it included English and Spanish, and ultimately the print would have to be so small, it would be really hard to read if it was in both languages.
Y'all couldn't just make the sign bigger?
We did not consider making the sign bigger because the sign is already rather large, and being in a floodway area, we have to take into considerations those limitations.
I'm just curious because, New York City, their parks have English, Spanish, Chinese. Like, I've seen parks up the road to San Antonio, down the road to San Antonio, up the road to Austin, have English and Spanish, so I just think that's interesting. And I think using graphic design as an excuse is kind of a cop-out, personally.
Well, and I feel that, we owned that we missed the mark on that. And that is why we came up with another solution to add those signs that are our most violated rules, to ensure that our Spanish-speaking neighbors are aware of those as well. We're trying to make up for that, error, and I hope that can be seen as trying to do our best and acknowledge where we fell short.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate y'all coming through and trying to kind of fill the gaps. I appreciate you being forthcoming with that, right? Because once once we start, talking about it live on the record, then, if it happens over and over again, that's just a trend and like deliberately, or like, like there's no excuse. So I appreciate that.
Sure.
I think.
I have a question. What's on the back side of the sign?
Another map on the opposite side with park rules.
So maybe, okay, I didn't realize that. I was thinking on the back, you could do the same thing in Spanish. And on the front, it says, or vice versa, Espanol on the other side. So, but if you've already got something on the back, never mind.
Right. No, I mean, I appreciate it's very aesthetically pleasing. The signs are very aesthetically pleasing, but I think when you look at other areas, some people they're willing to sacrifice, it being aesthetically pleasing to it, being more inclusive with different languages. So, but I do appreciate the little icons. I think they're very easy to digest, easy to read. People are not gonna be like, let me read this dissertation on rules. The little icons, I think, are a great idea, whoever came up with that. My second request, not so much like a question for now, perhaps you could just send it to me. I would appreciate better understanding on the history of the banning of the charcoal and the fire grills, and kind of the rationale, the science, the math, the figures of it all, on why propane is safer or allowable thus far. I think that'll help me be able to better answer questions to my neighbors, because I think it's important to state that going out and grilling at the park is one of the few affordable kind of leisure family activities for working class families in San Marcos, which we have a lot of. And so I anticipate getting a lot of questions about that.
Sure.
So I'd appreciate just send me the scoop.
I can do that right now. So in 2013, whenever the city council was presented with ordinance changes to the park rules, the charcoal was becoming an issue for a variety of things. Folks, despite actual charcoal receptacles being present in the parks, they were just dumping charcoal wherever, and people were burning their feet. So that was a challenge. Also, the environmental aspects were a huge part of that with the habitat conservation plan that we're under. So the compromise was to, although we were removing charcoal grills, still allowing the propane grills. So that is the genesis of how we arrived to solely propane.
And the Parks Board's going to discuss all this. Propane's not going away just yet. They're going
Right.
to discuss, and then it's going to come back to us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Garza, did you have anything else? Okay. Mr. Gonzalez?
Thank you, Mayor. You talked about the size of a structure of some sort on the floodway or the floodplain. What is the size that's allowable to have in those areas?
Talking about the sign?
The sign and other structures that they have, benches and whatnot.
I can't speak to other structures. I don't recall the exact parameters on the sign, but we had to, and I don't know if Lori knows that off the top of her head.
There we go. I think any kind of impediment in the floodway and floodplain, we try to avoid. I don't know that we have a specific size on a sign. We keep it fairly, within limits, just because we don't want to do some kind of analysis on that. It may refer back to our sign ordinance.
Yeah.
But I did want to add one thing is, one of the things that Ms. Case talked with me about is what you see is everyone wants to be right down by the water. And so we get then that's our most sensitive area. And so one of the things that she talked about in terms with me of looking at allowing portable tables and maybe allowing tents is creating zones within the park that allow families who may want to do some of those activities. Yes, if you want to do that, if you want to bring your family, if you want to have a tent and a table and have a picnic, then these are the zones you're in, and they're further away from the river, and it helps start to protect that. And so I really thought that resonated in terms of wanting to be respectful of how all the different people use the parks. I think the other reason why we're keying this up is, Ms. Case and her team have recognized the challenges out there, and we're gonna be working on how these need to be implemented, and there's gonna be some cost considerations related to that. We all wanna protect the river, we wanna keep it clean, we wanna make it there for our residents, but we're gonna have to do some things to help enforce it and maintain cleanliness and litter abatement. So we're gonna try to have some things keyed up in January for visioning so that you all can help give us directions as we start to prepare budgets for next year.
You know, that's a great idea, and I was thinking of something in the same lines, but I'm glad we're looking at that option. Thank you.
Okay, other questions? You know, the print was a little small on this, not a criticism, I could blow it up here, but I had a flashback to my older brother's treehouse, because when I saw grills not allowed, I thought it said girls not allowed.
Oh,
But it clearly says grills.
I'm sorry to bring that trauma back for you.
Anyway, any other questions? If not, thank you, thanks to you, thanks to everyone who was presented today. The slides were very informative, and thank you, and we will anxiously await the report back from the Parks and Recreation Board, who will look at this way more closely than we do. So, thank you all, thank you very much. Mr. Trevino, let's go with item 3.
The city council will convene an executive session pursuant to the following section of the Texas Government Code, section 551.072, real property, for deliberations regarding the possible acquisition of property for stormwater mitigation in connection with the Purgatory Creek Improvements Project.
I'm looking for a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Gonzalez, seconded by Mr. Scott. Mr. Trevino.
Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mayor Houston.
Aye.
Ms. Garza.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Gleason. Mr. Gonzalez. Mr. Mendoza. And Mr. Prather.
Okay, we'll go into executive session at 4:19. And council, we are back from our recess for the November 6th of 2023 meeting. Our executive session ended at 4:42. Ms. Trevino, would you read our next item, please?
Mayor, Q&A, we do not have anybody signed up. I just want to let you know, we don't have Q&A. No
We have
speakers.
Q&A, we just don't have anybody signed
Right.
up.
Nobody signed up.
I don't want anybody to say we skipped it.
No.
Okay, so, in that case, we will go on with adjournment, and I would accept a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Mr. Scott makes the motion, Mr. Mendoza gets credit for the second, Ms. Trevino.
Mr. Gleason, Mayor Houston,
Aye.
Ms. Garza, Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza.
Aye.
Mr. Prather, and Mr. Scott.
Aye.
All right, and we conclude our meeting at 4:43. Remember,